What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on Yahoo with a 10-team half PPR mock where we'll be selecting 10th overall last pick, so should be pretty interesting. And while we wait for this thing to kick off, just a quick reminder, if you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section your thoughts along with any other questions you guys might have. We'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get into this thing because the draft is officially kicked off. I expect we will see Christian McCaffrey be the first overall pick, and that's exactly what we have here. McCaffrey, 101. I'm going to pull up the draft board here. And now we'll see. Yahoo still has CD and Tyreek as their number 2 and 3 overall players, respectively. Again, this is half PPR. But not hugely different from what you might expect in a full PPR format in regards to, player selections. But a bit of a surprise here at 102, we have Bijan Robinson. Now, I guess it would depend who you ask if it's a surprise. If you ask me, I think that's a great pick. Also, Breece Hall there would have been a great pick. I think, I'll start making the argument pretty loudly that the first 3 picks should be McCaffrey, Breece, and Bijan, with McCaffrey being first and then whatever order you want afterwards. But, we're obviously going to have some wide receiver love here too. Tyreek, CD, then there goes Breece, Jamar, Amon-Ra, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor. So we're on the clock here. And I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to switch things up a little bit here. I think normally I would go with probably a Jahmyr Gibbs, a Garrett Wilson, something like that. But let's go one of our picks, A.J. Brown, and then let's go our second pick, Garrett Wilson. I think this is going to be really putting us in a very tough spot in regards to the running back position in the later rounds. And maybe we can kind of utilize this to highlight one of the downfalls if you ignore the running back position in the first 2 rounds. Now, again, I realize it's a 10-team league, so we have a chance of some better talent falling to us in the 3rd, 4th round, but I really do think that you might be doing yourself a disservice if you don't grab in the first 2 rounds at least one running back. And I was in a very prime position to do that. I could have had either Saquon or Jahmyr Gibbs. Hell, I could have had both of them. And maybe we'll run this back where I go with Saquon and Jahmyr Gibbs. We ignore the wide receiver position, go 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds, and then see how it pans out. But, I've done a lot of these mock drafts, and I pretty much know that it's going to be easier to put together a roster in the later rounds with wide receivers as opposed to running backs in the later rounds. So that's why if I went with one of these 2 approaches, it would be going 2 running backs. But let's go to the draft board here because while we've been going down that rabbit hole, we've had a lot of picks, right? After we won A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, there wasn't anything too crazy in the first round, so that, we kind of breezed by it. In the second round, Jahmyr Gibbs, huge run on the running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams. Henry going a little bit earlier than normal, I would say, since it's half PPR, but I don't think it should be by much. I still think that ETN, Pacheco are really good options there. So is Kyron Williams. Marvin Harrison at the 206. I appreciate I was going to say he dropped, but the only reason being is because there was that run on running backs. He was the next wide receiver taken after Garrett Wilson. In fact, Puka Nacua was drafted after him. Maybe people worried a little bit about him getting nicked up. Isaiah Pacheco afterwards, then Devontae Adams, Debo, Drake London. Notice that Debo getting drafted ahead of Brendan Ayuk now with those trade rumors. Drake London, the 302, tremendous value. I was going to say I love the start. Bijan Pacheco and then Drake London. You've got 2 Atlanta Falcons, but I think the value for London was there. Travis Kelce, Evans, Nico Collins, Brendan Ayuk, DK Metcalf, Chris Olave, Sam Laporta. So now we're in an interesting situation. I think running back wise, we have to address that position. If we're going high upside, and part of me thinks that we have to, probably Achane here isn't a horrible pick. I've said before that, taking him at the start of the second, middle of second, early third, I don't love it. But if you're going balls to the wall with wide receivers early on and you want a potential home run hitter Running back, Achane at the end of the third, not the worst option. Then here I'm going to go with another running back, Rachaad White. And then hopefully Alvin Kamara can drop to us in the next round. I doubt it. I'm going to go Rachaad White here. Just playing up to the ranking system of the platform you're drafting on. Other platforms, Kamara would be off the board much sooner. Other options here were also James Cook. I could have gone White and Alvin Kamara, something like that. But let's pull up the draft results again. So in the third round here, we had a lot of wide receivers go, right? Which was good for us. We had some running backs fall to us. Evans, Nico, Brennan Ayuk, DK Metcalf, Chris Olave, Laporta. We went Achane, we went Rachaad White. I think this might be the first stock I have of Achane in really any mock draft that I've done. We'll see how that pans out. But, I mean, all my worries about Achane are still there. This is a pretty atypical draft for me, having gone wide receiver to begin with. And mostly, again, just highlighting some high upside players. Achane is that, but he has to remain hyper efficient. He has to win the starting running back spot. He has to get the volume. Raheem Mostert has to disappear or get injured. So a lot of things have to happen in order for Achane to hit that upside. Rachaad White was our next pick. I think a solid PPR option. Pittman afterwards, good value at the 402. Josh Jacobs, Josh Allen here, the first quarterback drafted. I love that. Wait until the fourth round for a quarterback. Like I could argue every pick here beforehand was a better value than going that tier 1 quarterback. And here I think if I'm running every single pick in a draft, 10 or 12 team league, I'd be waiting until the end of the third, early fourth for me to select a quarterback. Cooper Kupp, 405, Jalen Waddle, 406, then James Cook, Joe Mixon, good value there. There's drafts where those guys go at the end of the third. DJ Moore, Jalen Hurts, Trey McBride, Patrick Mahomes. Notice Mahomes went almost a full round after Josh Allen. That's why I say wherever you do select your first tier 1 quarterback, typically the guy that selects the last tier 1 quarterback is going to be getting the better value. That's what we had with Mahomes. Then David Montgomery, Lamar. Interesting to see that he's not going to be there for us, but it's interesting to see that Alvin Kamara is still on the board. Let me double check. He is. It won't be for long, don't worry. Trey McBride also got selected here. A little bit of a bummer. I would have liked to scoop him up in the 5th round. So right now there's 3 picks until we get to make a selection. Let's sort this thing out. And just like I predicted, Alvin Kamara got drafted. Okay. Amari Cooper, Devonta Smith, Stephon Diggs, the next kind of highest ranked guys. I'm thinking about this right now. Guys that I would want. Malik Neighbors isn't a bad value at this point in time. It's our turn to draft. I think somebody like a Dalton Kincaid also getting that advantage at tight end. I've already got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith's a no-go. T. Higgins, not bad. Let's go Malik Neighbors. He's a wide receiver that I like. George Pickens also tremendous value. Running backs. I mean, Aaron Jones, I guess, right? He'd be the next highest ranked guy. Probably if we went that route. Starting running back for the Vikings. Tight end. We can wait on tight end if we don't go Kincaid. I think Pitts and or Ingram will fall to us. But let's see how this pans out. Let's go Kincaid here. And then see what we put together in the later rounds. I imagine here we're going to see some quarterbacks go off the board. I imagine you're going to see Aaron Jones. And you're going to see a lot of these wide receivers that are still really good values go, right? So guys like Higgins, Pickens, McLaurin, Christian Kirk. I doubt any of them get back to us in the next round. If they do, that would be awesome value. We could have gone a running back here. If I went running back, it would have been Aaron Jones. Just want to point that out. Ooh, Kyle Pitts goes to the 606. All right, maybe I was wrong. Maybe Evan Ingram and Kyle Pitts won't get back to us. C.J. Stroud went after a selection of Dalton Kincaid. Good, I think that's good value. George Kittle ahead of Pitts and Ingram. I don't necessarily love that. Aaron Jones, James Conner, Kyle Pitts, Ramondre, Stephon Diggs. And now here, I think we're probably going to see Devonta Smith being drafted. T. Higgins, right? We're right around that territory. Oh, Christian Kirk ahead of both of them. I don't necessarily mind that. I said it before, George Pickens, McLaurin are there for us in the next round. Those are easy selections. We'd like to get some running back depth. We definitely would. But, looking at these names, Zamir White would be the selection if we're going, strictly starting running backs. Not Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift also wouldn't be a bad name. If we're talking like for sure, they're going to be the running back ones on their respective teams. Jonathan Brooks here is, I've said this before, he's going to start on the PUP list. And you're drafting Jonathan Brooks is a guy that comes in late in the season and hopefully delivers. But I've said this, if you're drafting Jonathan Brooks early on with expectations of him being a guy that contributes right away, you're going to be disappointed. I think realistically you're going to get like probably 4 or 5 really good games from him, if that. And again, it's all about when you get them. If you get them in the middle of the season, not worth that much. So he's an interesting name. George Pickens just got drafted. There goes T. Higgins. Yep. I told you those wide receivers that had lasted were all going to go. Raheem Mostert and DeAndre Swift both went. Three more picks until we get to make another selection. So there's also a auto pick in there. So I imagine McLaurin will go. Joe Burrow might go, but we're going to get one of McLaurin, Burrow, and or Zamir White, which I don't mind. I think at this point in time in the draft, it's good value. Zamir White just went. He would have been my preferred choice, to be honest with you. But Terry McLaurin right now feels like a steal. So let's go McLaurin. Was he still there? Evan Ingram is still there. So, you could argue Dalton Kincaid was kind of a luxury pick, right? Running backs, I don't necessarily love anyone right now. Quarterback, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott. I might go with another wide receiver, honestly. I think Keenan Allen here is not a bad value. Oh, actually, we didn't even get a chance to select him. We got auto picked to Joe Burrow, but we were discussing Joe Burrow either way, so I can't be too mad about that. Again, I think right now here, the main thing we wanted to see is getting some more running back depth. Where were the points where we could have done that? I would say right here, the Malik Neighbors, Dalton Kincaid point. So let's see. Yeah, we could have gotten Aaron Jones as our third running back. And considering that we only have 2 guys, Achane and Rachaad White, one of them being somebody that I don't necessarily love in Achane, but I got a little bit carried away with some of the high upside young guys. Not afraid to admit that, right? But we need another running back in the squad. We got a little bit unlucky that Zamir White was drafted here, and then afterwards I just kind of decided to wait and just go, again, best player available in my opinion, McLaurin. Joe Burrow, definitely a consideration, but Dak Prescott's going to be really good value for whoever drafts him here at the 808. There you go. You see it right there. Deontay Johnson. So let's see the running back. We're going to make, I think, just one final selection here in the end of the 9th round and see what running backs we get and what we can work with. But I'm just going to immediately already go to the running back spot. Zach Moss would probably be at the top of my list. Trey Benson, handcuff or backup rookie running back. There goes Zach Moss. So the options are starting to dwindle. Like, this is the point where you take a flyer on Jonathan Brooks, but not early on. Like, I've seen him go in other drafts. Like, I think this is the appropriate spot to draft Jonathan Brooks for all the, kind of crap that I gave him earlier on. So if it gets back to us and we have all these running back names available, probably, Jonathan Brooks is going to be one of the picks. Who's going to be the other is the question. Jerome Ford, I think, is in consideration for that pick. He's ranked way too low here on Yahoo, considering we don't know what the hell is going to happen with Nick Chubb, kind of pulling up. I mean, he's still in the pup. Nothing too crazy there. Gus Edwards, what's going to happen with J.K. Dobbins? Who actually wins that job? Ezekiel Elliott, he's not Ezekiel Elliott of old. So you've got a lot of you've got a lot of aspects. Like when you get to this point of running backs, it's kind of throwing a dart, right, at the dartboard, and whatever happens happens. Singletary is up there. He's technically the starting running back for the Giants, but I've already got Malik Neighbors, and I could see the Giants struggling holding leads or even being in games. So that's what scares me off Singletary. So I think probably like Jonathan Brooks and Jerome Ford would be the two picks. Until we get more news about Nick Chubb, I think you're just in a tough spot trusting that backfield. I think in that case you have to go with Ford, and then get what you can from him and try to swing him for a trade before Nick Chubb returns. Because I think even when Chubb returns, you're gonna see a situation where it's a running back by committee. So I'm gonna draft Jonathan Brooks here, knowing that he might very well not play the first half of the season, and even when he does play, he has to break out of the running back by committee. Then I'm going to draft Jerome Ford. And we're going to wrap this thing up just to show you our roster. So Joe Burrow, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, some really strong wide receivers, even on our bench, right? Terry McLaurin's there. Malik Neighbors is there, high upside rookie. Running backs, we went for the gusto with Achane, Rashad White. We got Kincaid, so a really nice tight end in my opinion. Malik Neighbors is our flex. You could swap him out for a McLaurin. Brooks, Jerome Ford. We kind of shifted our attention to the running back position here, even though there probably were some better values elsewhere. Overall, I don't hate this draft, but I think it could have looked a lot better. Like I said before, if we went running back, wide receiver to start, again, more so illustrating here one of the potential pitfalls if you don't go with a little bit more of a balanced approach. And I think this would have been even more better highlighted if it was a 12-team league. We got away with a lot being a 10-team league, so keep that in mind. But hey, at the end of the day, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully you guys were able to get something from this. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Any questions, let them hear in the comments. We'll do our best to answer them all, but in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.